Good evening, members and members of the public. Welcome to this South East planning meeting held on the 28th of June 2023. Before we start, there are a few housekeeping things. The fire exit is that way, following the green running man. Toilets are out there as well. Please, if you wish to speak, please raise your hands and please speak clearly and concisely. I will invite people to speak when the time is right. We do have members of the public here and who have completed the relevant form and will be speaking. So we'll hope that we get the remote speakers, but we have a backup plan if we don't. So let's proceed. Item 2, apologies for absence. The only apology I have is from Councillor R.G. Pratt. Councillor Stamp, I see you.
Councillor Norman, please, Chair.
And Councillor Norman, please, as well. Thank you. If we can go to minutes of the last meeting, which you'll find on pages 7 to 15. If we could confirm the minutes of the committee held on the 25th of May 2023. Members, I wasn't at that meeting, so if somebody who was, Councillor, you can. Is that agreed? Seconded? Agreed? Super. Thank you very much. Item 4, disclosure of interests. To disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interests, other registrable interests and non-registrable interests relating to items of business on the agenda having regard to paragraph 9 and appendix B of Code of Conduct for members. And members are reminded that they're also required to disclose any such interests as soon as they become aware should the need arise throughout the meeting. Now I know, members, that we're all in a position where we know the applicant for item 6, but we've been in this position before and I understand that there are no issues around that. So any other interests, members?
I've got a disclosure interest on item 6. I prefer not to say what it is, but these are disclosure interests. And I will leave it.
And you will leave.
Sorry.
Thank you. Just have a bit of technical issue here at the moment. No other customers.
John, I think, I don't think dispensations apply because it's the members involved in an application, but I think it's very important that for the benefit of the tape, I would certainly say that I know the applicant and the applicant's husband with regards to this issue, but perhaps before I said that, maybe I should have said it. I'm sure you'll all join me in wishing former Councillor Boyce speedy and full recovery.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. Okay, if we can start with item 5, 220171, land at the old Rectory, East End Road, Bradwell-on-Sea. And that's on pages 15 to 34. So I think I'm going to move this home on the need this presentation is okay to go now.
Yeah, you'll have to bear with me because Miss Green was going to be presenting this. I'm not entirely sure of the order of her slides, but we will do the best that we can. So,
thank you very, very much.
This is an outline plan application with all matters reserved for a detached self-built dwelling. So the application site is located on the southern side of East End Road. The access to the site lies adjacent to the settlement boundary at Bradwell-on-Sea, but the site itself is outside of the settlement boundary. The site measures 0.26 hectares in area and is formed of an extensive garden land located at the rear of a 2-storey detached dwelling. Here. The old Rectory, the main dwelling, forms a run of detached dwelling which front East End Road. The dwellings are typically arranged in linear formation. However, one dwelling, the Grange, is located to the west of the application site at the end of a shared private access, which also serves the old Rectory and its neighbour. The application site is not readily visible at East End Road as it is screened by 2 garages. So this is the development being referred to. The outline planning permission of all matters reserved is to Right, there we go.
Should be alright now.
You okay to, Lisa, you can hear us?
You're on mute, Ms. Griffin.
I will continue as I was then. As the committee is aware, the council...
Yes? Yes?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can't hear you.
Right, no,
Yeah,
I'll
You'll
continue.
go back on Teams.
As the committee is aware, the council's current 5-year housing land supply position is at 6.35 years. However, this is not a ceiling to development, and the benefits of a scheme are to be weighed against the harm in terms of sustainability, the provision of the most suitable types of housing for the district, impacts on the countryside, heritage and protected sites, and the provision of appropriate levels of infrastructure. The site lies adjacent to the settlement boundary of Bradwell-on-Sea. A well-lit footway links the site to the settlement, and there are facilities that can be accessed via this footpath, including a community shop, pub and primary school. Bus stops are located to the north-east and south-west of the site at East End Road and are within safe walking distance and connect to the site to Southminster and Tillingham. Development has also been permitted previously at the neighbouring sites of Living and the Grange, which are both outside the settlement boundary. No objection is therefore raised with regard to the accessibility of the site. The site represents a form of backland development, and the proposal has been found to satisfy policy H4 of the local development plan and is acceptable in this regard, and the principle of development has therefore been found to be acceptable. The applicant has sought to work with the council to submit additional information with regard to ecology and overshadowing, and this is now acceptable for the purposes of this application. Subject to the imposition of planning conditions and action regarding the trees on the site and a further tree protection order, it is advised that outline planning permission for development only is granted. So, in terms of plans, this is so it's a layout plan and showing how the trees can be protected within the site. The proposed elevations, view of the access from East End Road currently serves the old Rectory, view of the shared access from East End Road that serves those 3 properties, view of the Rectory and the garages here that will be demolished to provide the access. This is the garden and a view of the site to the east, view of the woodland area to the rear of the site and the countryside beyond, and view looking back towards the host dwelling. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Turner. So I believe we do have a public participant in this application, so if I could ask you to step forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair.
Well, thank you. So you have 2 minutes
Okay.
from when the clock starts. So when are you ready now?
I'm ready to go.
Let's go. Start the clock.
Right.
please.
Just a little once of that. I am David Gordon. My wife Christine and I are the owners of the old rectory and the land that's being talked about. I just wanted to emphasise a few points to the committee, some of which you've heard already. This is an outline planning application. We have included a design, but largely to demonstrate the feasibility of placing a house on this type of site. The detail of the design can be altered, of course, although we're very keen that it should be done to the very high standards of energy efficiency, so that's part of the proposal. Although the proposed site is outside the development boundary, there is ready access from the road adjacent to the boundary. There are 3 dwellings already built, as you've seen on the map, adjoining the old rectory, one of which, the Grange, is actually farther from the boundary than the proposed new site. And the proposal would still leave a substantial garden and woodland for the old rectory. With regard to character, the proposed house would not be visible from the road. The surrounding houses are of no unified style. One was built in the 1970s, that's the new rectory. 2 in the 1990s, 2 bespoke designs of a particular type. And the old rectory itself was built in 1932. And the houses opposite, which are inside the boundary, appear to be from the 1960s. Tree, wildlife and light surveys have been conducted and mitigations where necessary have been identified. And finally, although this is not strictly a planning issue, my wife and I moved to Bradwell on return from Australia because we liked the area and wanted to be close to the grandchildren and children. The old rectory is now much too big for us. There is a shortage in the village of the type of house we'd like to retire to. So we think that by building our own on unused land, it would contribute to the overall stock. And we hope that the people who can better use it will take on the old rectory.
Thank you very
Basically,
much,
the,
Mr. Interest. That's all time. Thank you so much. Okay, so the officer recommendation is to approve. I believe we debate first and then, so I'll hand over to Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, Jan. I feel sorry for Mr. Gold because I think had there not been an election, Mr. Gold wouldn't be here this evening, Jan. So I've looked at this. I think it's a very innovative idea what Mr. Gold is coming up with, the applicant's coming up with. And that said, I propose that we agree with the officer's recommendation.
Yeah, second. Second, yeah, Councillor Ingram. Members, anyone else wish to speak on this application? No, so we have a proposal which has been seconded, which is that we accept the officer's recommendation to approve the application. Members, can we agree by sense?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Gould. I think I just need to take a moment just to, before we move on to the next item, I just need to take a moment to take some advice. Bear with us, please.
Do you think we should take a short adjournment?
I think we probably should. So, members, I'll just
ask you, are you considering something about the application that we just agreed?
No, we're having a technical hiccup.
So
We're
Mr.
unsure
Gold
whether
is
we're
very
getting.
anxious to go.
No, I don't. No, by all means, feel free to. Sorry, by all means, feel free to leave. No, we're having some technical issues regarding the next one. Please don't feel the need to be polite. Oh no, do go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, you go on.
So,
It's changing, right?
so we propose to adjourn.
Yes, I think we'll propose a brief adjournment for 10 minutes, members. I do apologise, and members of the public will try and sort this out. Thank you.
I think all the information in front of members to be able to consider and appropriately vote. We may have to consider deferring this.
So, what are we voting for?
Yellow line.
Sorry about that, members and members of the public. So we are now resuming this South East planning meeting after some serious technical glitches. So I will now hand over to Ms. Owen.
Thank you. So this is a full planning application submitted for the change of use from an agricultural building to a 2-bedroom bungalow as well as alterations to the fenestration. The works other than the additional windows on the exterior have already been completed and evidence suggests the internal arrangement was constructed in this manner from the outset. The application site gained planning permission for the erection of an Apple store in August 2020. However, the evidence submitted with the application, as well as other evidence available to the council, such as building control records, demonstrate that the building was not erected as an agricultural building but as a dwelling. Therefore, the building was constructed without planning permission. Members will be aware that the assessment contained within the officer's report considers whether the development is a change of use rather than the planning merits of the dwelling. The assessment is based on that because the building was not erected as agricultural and so a change of use cannot lawfully be granted. I will set out the application as to why this is the conclusion we can reach. So if we can go to the first slide of the location plan, please, Lisa. Thank you. So here we have the location plan showing the buildings in situ currently and the access does have permission under other application. The next slide shows the block plan, so it actually just shows this in a better view. The next slide we have the elevations as proposed. So the only changes as part of this application and what was approved for the Apple store is the window on the south elevation that is to the left of the door, and then the window on the right hand side of the north elevation to the right of the fully glazed element. So the next slide shows the proposed floor plans. Officers view that these works have already been carried out. And then the next slide, just for your reference, is the elevations that were approved as part of the Apple store application in 2020.
Deborah, just if we go back to this slide before, can we just identify what the rooms are? Because probably members can't see the small detail.
Yeah, sure, sorry.
Thank you. Some of you might have the presentations on the screen, but the benefit of them.
Yeah, I'm there. So, sorry, the proposed floor plans, please, Lisa. So, on the left-hand side, as you look at it, is the kitchen diner, following through into a living room, the utility room, bathroom, and storage room above. On the right-hand side of the building, as you look at it, we have 2 bedrooms, 2 en-suites, and a built-in wardrobe, walk-in wardrobe room. Thank you. So, yes, so the next slide is the elevations that was approved as part of the Apple store, and then we have the previously approved floor plans, TPC just an implement store, an Apple preparation area which also includes office space, an Apple store, a storeroom of its own, and a WC with a shower in it. So now we have the site entrance and access track photos. So you can see, it just shows some unmade road. The gates to the site are showed in the top photo. And then the next slide, please. This is the exterior of the application building from the front. And then we have some photos of the interior. So these photos were taken prior to the remedial works that took place that have been outlined in the members' update. The red lines on the plan lines up there just to be able to show you location-wise where the photos have been taken. You can see the sort of residential fixtures and fittings in there. The in these photos again. Sorry, can we just go back one? See where there is agricultural equipment needs to be installed on cardboard boxes protecting the wooden flooring. There's an office space, but this isn't in the area showing on the approved plans. And there's lots of residential features such as skirting boards, the window sills, the blinds. Next slide. And here we've been the implement and then this is a hallway that's been constructed, not really appropriate space for agricultural use in the opinions of officers, and then the storage on the bottom photo was used to store, appeared to be used to store sort of personal items, more of a residential nature. Next one. And then, so as far as the members update, some remedial works have taken place to try and put the building internally as the commission granted. But we still do have some concerns over residential features, including sort of the light fittings, skirting walls still in place, the window sills, the level of insulation, and the plasterwork and so on. Next one, please. Again, this just highlights some of the walls have been removed, the corridor wall still remains. Again, the sofa and the containers in there. Next one. And yeah, this is just the apple store again, showing much of the same. Just pointed out perhaps in previous slides that there's some doorways in there as well that are still a fairly residential appearance. So the first consideration must be whether the development constitutes a change of use. In order to address this, the council must determine, as a matter of fact and degree, whether the building as erected constitutes an apple storage barn as allowed under the original permission. There are three pieces of case law that are pivotal in this assessment and have been outlined in the officer's report. The assessment in the report against relevant case law are based on the evidence before the council concludes that any alleged use of the building for an apple storage purpose was minimal. The building as constructed is not an apple storage barn, and therefore on the basis of the case law the development does not fall under a change of use. The council cannot reasonably approve an application for permission for a change of use of a building where the construction of the building itself is unauthorised and where there has been no agricultural use prior to residential use. Given that the application cannot be reasonably granted on the basis of the application that has been submitted, an assessment considering the suitability of a change of use at the site has not been outlined in the officer's report. The conclusion from officers and the legal officer is that the application cannot be approved. The building was not built with a planning permission and is not an application for retrospective planning permission. It is an application for a change of use for a building that has no planning permission. Therefore, the application is recommended for refusal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hurley. We do have two public participants. We have, first of all, Councillor Deborah Down. Now, how does this work? Whose computer has
Picked up by Michael, so probably sitting on him.
okay, so
So Councillor Down, you just need to come on camera and unmute yourself. And then we just need to minimise that. At least if you stop sharing.
if you could stop sharing, screen sharing.
There we go.
There we go. So, Councillor Down, you have 2 minutes. Councillor Stanton has kindly agreed to run the clock down, so start whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. With the original planning application, 18/00280, of construction of an apple storage farm at land northwest of Riversleigh, Mayland Parish Council recommended refusal on the following grounds. Materials used for apple prep area not suitable for drink production. Washdown prep area would be required. Office space open to prep area. Only one entrance to store area, prep area. No means of fire escape for staff. Entrance to store is not off hard standing area. And cross-contamination of fruits and nuts could be amiss. Material flow crosses paths several times. No ventilation in store, office, prep area. Layout of prep area not defined. Equipment, sinks, fermentation areas, etc. Small ferments of vessel size would suggest that many more would be required. Such a small building could affect the sustainability of cider production for info given. Basically, the design was wholly unsuited for its stated purpose. Despite these objections, Malton District Council approved this application with conditions to be adhered to. New application 23/00076 is for the change of use of this building from agricultural to a 2-bedroom bungalow at C3 use at the same address. We recommend refusal on the following grounds. To change the use would allow the building to be separated from the agricultural use relating to the apple barn. This would allow it to sell as a private dwelling. Approving this will not only set a precedent, but severely damage the integrity of Malden District Council, who allowed this build purely for agricultural use. This would also conflict with S1 Sustainable Development, S2 Strategic Growth, S8 Settlement, Boundaries and Countryside, E1 Employment, H7 Agriculture and Essential Workers Accommodation. If this application is approved,
your time is up.
we're done.
Thank you. Can you? Thank you very, very much, Councillor Dan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we also have Mr. Stephen Whale, the agent for the applicants. So if you could turn your camera on. Thank you. Brilliant. So again, if Councillor Stamp will set the clock. So you have 2 minutes, Mr. Whale, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Can I just check that you can hear me okay without feedback and things? Is that fine?
Perfectly, yes, thank you. Can you
Yeah, that's
hear us?
fine, that's fine.
Thank you. So yes, please tell me when to start.
Please start now.
You can start now.
Thank you. So I'm Mr. Whale, a planning law barrister acting for the applicant, and my submission is nothing to prevent you in law granting this application. Planning permission was granted for an apple store. It included a bathroom. It included office area. It did not prohibit window sills, spotlights, skirting boards, plastered walls or blinds. There is a bathroom. It obviously needs plumbing. The building's been built, it's in the exactly correct location, and externally it looks like the building approved. It's never been lived in. It's been used as an apple store for about 2 years. Now, councillors I know who've had legal advice, I haven't seen it, but whoever wrote it has never been in the building, whereas I have. In any case, matters have moved on since you had that advice. There's been internal remedial works. The advice in the report mentions 3 cases. The Sage case, the issue is the date of substantial completion of the building. That's not the issue here. In the Welling case, planning permission was granted for a hay barn, but a building was built and lived in. The apple store's never been lived in. In the Quicksave case, permission was granted for a car showroom, which only operated for a month. In this case, the apple stores operated as an agricultural building for around 2 years. So I say those cases are not relevant and don't help you. And then the council has served an enforcement notice recently. I know you've had that mentioned in your update. It has not taken effect yet. It alleges that a dwelling has been built. There's no kitchen. There are no bedrooms. Good luck to the council if there's an appeal against that notice. As I said at the outset, there's no legal reason to prevent you from granting this application.
Thank you, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. So, thank you. Apologies again for all the technical glitches. Thank you, Councillor Stamp, for providing the clock. So we have a recommendation to refuse. So I'll open the floor to members.
Can I?
Yes, Councillor.
I am currently an enforcement officer. I've been an enforcement officer of large London Park for over 20 years. I'm quite astonished by this report and find it very one-sided and disproportionate. The case law is completely and utterly unrelated to the case. I'm quite offensive as a proud professional. We feel that this report has been put forward. So if you cut through the nonsense, there are only 3 main points. Use of the barn, was it used for the approved use? Yes, for 6 months of the year it was made use for food production. Officers did not visit when the food was growing, but do admit that machinery is kept there, and also the approved office is used 3 days a week by Mr. Payton. I understand that letters have been sent today from the public confirming that use. If planning department suspected that it was not being used for the appropriate use, they could have served a planning contravention notice to actually request that information. I understand that never happened. Secondly, the design of the barn, it is designed to the approved drawings 100%, apart from this internal configuration and the addition of plaster to the walls and floor coverings. I mean, I would personally say, where is the harm that's caused on those, but also the fact that this building is used for storing food for human consumption, and I understand preparing jams and stuff like that. So, in the food safety point of view, then I would say absolutely needs to be to that type of standard. You wouldn't expect dusty old brick walls to, you know, and concrete floors that can't be readily cleaned. Finally, I would just say that the effect on the countryside, in effect scale, mass, bulk and sustainability, there's no effect on the countryside. The building's already there. It was granted planning permission and it's been built as per the planning permission. Also, incidentally, planning permission has been granted for a residential property on the same field. I've also been informed that the land immediately surrounding this site is being identified as green in the development plan. So I can see no legal reason why we would say that this property hasn't been used for its intended use, and I understand the owners have been issued a planning notice requiring them to demolish the building, which in my view is completely disproportionate and not a proper use of their house. And also I fully agree with the representative of the applicant to say that case law is nonsense. There is evidence to say that it has been used for its intended use, so I can see no reason why a change of use should not be granted. And I would ask officers to actually, fellow members, to support this application.
Is that a proposal to go against the officer's recommendation?
Yes.
Do I have a seconder for that proposal? Councillor Bradwell. Thank you.
So, I mean, there's some quite astounding comments there. I think we listened to them very closely after the meeting on the tape. But I'd like the officer's response, because what was just said is completely at odds with what's in the report. And I'm also enormously concerned with what Mr. Whale said, because I believe that Mr. Whale has met in his capacity as the applicant's barrister. I'm sure that he wouldn't have said what he just said unless he was confident that he could mitigate any approach that the barrister's made. And this concerns me enormously. I think anybody that read this probably would realise that we were going to come up with some legal advice. So perhaps Mr. Quelch could advise us. Is he on the call?
No, he's not on the call, but he has been privy to these discussions. I spoke with him just today, and that's one of a number of times which we've spoken. We've sought legal advice on this. Again, I'm quite surprised that the council talking about the case law being nonsense. These are leading case laws. Whether this is material or not, you know, we have legal advice from a barrister, from a well-known chambers. It doesn't matter whether they're well-known or not, they're well-established chambers, and these are the leading case law in terms of this sort of thing, in terms of has the development commenced, has the use commenced, what is the evidence which is presented. It was mentioned that if planning officers or enforcement officers had concerns about the use of the building at the time they'd still been used, we would have, you know, carried out enforcement action at that time. Enforcement action is a reactive process. We don't know unless matters are brought to our attention. But in terms of how we've assessed this application, one in terms of the permission granted, the time period, the discharge of conditions, building control records, which have tracked this building, which has shown that the development has been a continuous development process. In fact, it's not even completed, so in planning legal terms, the building is not even substantially completed. And this is a fundamental part of the legal consideration as to whether a use has commenced or not. The building is not substantially completed. And it was even mentioned by Mr. Well that the bath hasn't been plumbed. But in our terms, in terms of how the building has been constructed and how it's gone on, it has been, to all intents and purposes, been developed as its end goal, a residential development. Yeah? When planning permission was granted by members, it wasn't granted on the basis that it would be kitted out with an island, kitchen unit, marble, flooring. I mean, Devon can articulate better than I can in terms of what the fittings are. Fully fitted in terms of its internals, with all the electrics, everything which is conducive to a residential dwelling. It would have to be, for it to be in a position for the argument that it's a retrospective application or a change of use from agricultural to this building which we have here, for all intents and purposes, with building regulations in terms of all the standards of residential development. That to me is a far stretch from the permission granted as an agricultural barn for the storage and processing of apples. You wouldn't normally be carrying out a business, and I'm sure that wasn't meant as understanding, at the time when the permission was granted, of what the agricultural building would be.
Can I come back? Because I think maybe I didn't put my point properly. I mean, Mr. Johnson basically just gone through the officer's presentation. I think you'll understand. But I don't think we've had a Queen's councillor come here and address this committee, never mind the King's councillor, but Barrister has just come to this committee and he has said something to this committee which is completely contrary to what is in the report. And we don't have a lawyer here. So we've now got two conflicting views. I mean, this concerns me enormously. I mean, this really does. I'm ever so sorry because but that's my point. This is a legal point. You know, we've heard from an enforcement officer, who just happens to be a councillor with a contrary view. We've got somebody come on, Mr. Wales coming on with a contrary view to our legal advice. And I mean, what he actually said about Sage and Quick Fit and whatever the other one was, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I don't believe his interpretation of that is any different to the interpretation of this report. It's just what somebody interprets, a judgment as. But anyway, I'll give way. But I'm not happy about this.
Okay, I mean, I'd like to start saying the agent is quite right. We can make any decision we want to. That doesn't make it lawful or unlawful unless it goes to court or judicial review and then turns it over. I mean, I think we've got to understand what it is all about. It isn't about enforcement, it's about was the building built for the purpose that it was used for the purpose it was built for, and can the applicant show clear evidence that it was done for long enough. I mean, the whole point of de minimis is to try to minimise or to reduce the risk that anybody with a bit of land could put an agricultural building on it, use it for 6 months or 2 years, and then quickly change it to a house. The whole point of this whole process is to make sure that what is approved is built for the purpose it's built for. If the applicants had wanted to build a house in the long term, they could put applications forward for a house in the long term. And the question to be answered is 6 months, 2 years really long enough to demonstrate that was really the intention of the applicant in the first place, which is where de minimis comes in. And quite rightly, I've read all the cases, the courts have looked at these things and said, if it looks like a fish, it smells like it's a fish, it's a fish. Well, that's basically what the case law is saying. It's not about an individual case referring exactly to this. It's about the precedent that you'll be setting. So I would imagine that there are quite a few enforcement cases out there at the moment being worked on by enforcement, whereby it's agricultural buildings that have been put in place. I know one at Valley, for example, where they're not being used for the purpose they're supposed to be used for. So the danger is that I can understand some of the reasons why this might want to be pushed through, but will be set a significant precedent that anybody that's got existing enforcement acts against it will be able to use as a precedent. Because if we're using de minimis in any of those cases, they will just refer to this automatically and say, well, you've used de minimis, what's the difference? So I really think it's a dangerous thing for us to move away from the officer's recommendation on the basis of people that are speaking for the applicant and disagreeing with the legal position that the officer has rightly taken. I just think it's not something I would very dangerous.
Thank you, Councillor Fitz. If any other members, Councillor Assenger?
Yeah, I would agree with Councillor Fitz, really. I think it's quite insulting, to be honest, because we've all seen the pictures. You know, an apple barn should, I would have thought, I mean, what do I know about cider making, but it should have apples in it, I would have thought. And it should have
Depends on the time of year, to be fair, Councillor
Personally,
Assenger.
yeah, maybe, yeah, absolutely, because maybe there shouldn't be, but maybe there should be farm equipment, there should be, I don't know, silver bats, I don't know, but there should be some evidence of cider making, apple production, jam making we've had, food and all the rest of it. You know, what we do have is a settee, a coffee table, a full kitchen, bathrooms, you know, and then we're being told by a barrister that we should accept the evidence that we can see, and we should say that that is an apple barn. Well, I'd love to see an apple barn that's got French doors, you know, windows with blinds on it and all the rest of it. And I'd like to see, you know, these sort of apple barns across the country. I'm sure there are some, but they've probably got people living in them because they are houses. That's the other word for it. They are houses. So if we're going to, as Councillor Fitz says, you know, if we're going to say that this is an apple barn and then we can change the use and make it residential, we are setting a precedent. And in this area, that is an extremely dangerous thing to do. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Councillor Assenger. Any other members wish to? Councillor Zahn?
Yeah, I think we need to actually focus on it has never been lived in, whether as a settee. I think the applicant works out there 3 days a week. Maybe they entertain clients, I don't know. But we all know apples only grow at certain times of the year. I've seen evidence that it has been, or read letters that it has been used as an apple producing cider and jam making facility. And I'm like Madam Chair, I actually did look up, because I was in my previous life a caterer, and you know, you actually have to adhere to recommended food standards, and it says quite clearly that, it doesn't say anything about windowsills, but I'm not really bothered about windowsills, but it does say about having surfaces and floors that are easy, that have to be cleaned, about pest control. There's actually a whole lot about cider making on here, and I've highlighted quite a lot. It says be clean and maintained in good repair, be designed and constructed to permit good hygiene practices, be adequate, have an adequate supply of portable drinking water, have suitable controls for place and against pests, have adequate natural and artificial lighting. I think something was mentioned somewhere about some lighting. You can't, if you want to work later, you can't do it in the dark because it's a closed barn.
I think we get the picture.
Yeah, well, Madam Chair, you know, we have to deal with the facts. I'm actually more concerned that this has got an enforcement notice against it. And what does actually bother me is that if the enforcement notice goes through, we are knocking down a perfectly good building. Whether you want to take out internal walls, it doesn't specify anywhere in the building regs about internal walls. I think the applicants turned around and said they've gone. It's not a condition that you have to worry about internal walls. The building, my understanding is that Modern Council have actually visited this site on more than one occasion. And surely they should have picked up, and whoever the enforcement officer was, and actually challenged before. I'm sure there's a long string of litigation or meetings that have gone on that we're not privy to, but I'm not comfortable in that. Because I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm actually a resident who makes decisions based on what I think is right. And I actually don't think that this is right if this is going to be knocked down. I can use a case where this council, but bear with me, I'm going to have a bit of a leeway about enforcement. I have, and others have complained about an enforcement of a building that has been used, but Modern Council have not enforced and made them take it down because they've made the judgment that it's okay there, and that's for a massive developer. This is a person, regardless of if we know them or not, because I'm trying to think, you know, how would I be? We have lots of applications come to this committee on single dwellings, change of uses, barns.
you know, which we've gone against the officer's recommendations for. But I would like guidance from Mr Johnson, I nearly called you Michael, I do apologise, Mr Johnson, about, because I'm struggling with the enforcement. I'm struggling with what decision we're here to make. Is it better to defer until it goes through a legal process? I don't know. So can I have that before I make any decision, Chair?
Okay, well, just to make 2 points on this. This report is not about an enforcement matter.
But we've got sorry to interrupt you, but we were given a
Members
members update telling us that, and it wasn't until I got that I was thrown into confusion. So that's why I want it aired and discussed at this meeting.
The members update is to provide members with all the relevant information or any background information. So that is not a matter that is withheld from the council. But the report is contained within the report as written, and the substance of the matter for consideration is whether this application can be considered as a change of use from an existing use. The thrust of the report is that the use to which the building was granted planning permission had not reasonably commenced. It's not to say that it had not commenced in some degree or the other, but the level of commencement or activity that took place was de minimis. And I think Councillor Fittick actually summed that up in terms of, there is a period of time in which a use becomes established. Yeah, that use had not become established. I know that you mentioned red letters, etc. These are not anything that we've seen. I'm not sure on this.
They were sent to members, but again.
Okay, they may have been sent to members. They were not sent to officers. They were not presented to us. We're not in a position to evaluate for what period they cover. We've looked at the evidence in front of us. We've had, throughout the lifetime of this application, substantial discussions with the agent. And information you say has been submitted to members has not been submitted to officers for officers to take it into consideration. That to me is a significant matter. This is not information which we've discussed with our monitor officer, the legal officer, nor with our barrister in terms of coming to the position that we have. There's been extensive discussions on this particular case. I don't want to focus on the enforcement matter because this is not an enforcement matter that we are considering in terms of the decision. The decision is whether a lawful determination of this application, and this is in officer's view, other than what's recommended before you, can take place. This is not to say that an application for a new dwelling, even though it may be an existing dwelling, or cannot be submitted and considered on its merits, that can take place, but this is not the forum within which that can take place. This is not the application for that. And to by-step that process means that, again, as Councillor Fittick said, anybody can come along and step aside the process and get the permission they want. There is due process in all these matters. And due process, in officer's view, has not been followed here because it has not been demonstrated what the initial position was. I've seen the building control records. The building control records seem to be quite clear as to how this building has continuously been developed and has not been substantially finished for any significant period of time for any use to have become established, much less, I wouldn't even say de minimis, because de minimis could be 6 months. Not even that. That has not happened. And these are some of the legal tenets we have to have regard to.
Madam Chair, can I come back? Well, I'm still more confused because if you've got the building records of the visits and everything, and you saw that the building wasn't being completed or developed as per the planning approval, why was nothing done about it? Because you're going back. I'm sorry if I'm being a bit dense, but I'm getting very confused with has it been lived in? I think it hasn't. Nobody's got proof it's been lived in. How many times has it been visited as an officer? You know, a planning building control officer. We have not got that. We're not party to those records. Just put your mind at rest. What I said about the email was letters of proof that it was used as an apple start and collecting apples and producing cider. All that was some letters or messages from people who had been to that site and operated in that context. So that's what the email is about.
Okay. Just in terms of the visits, the applicants had submitted a building control application. So the building works was assessed as a construction project, as building control applications go.
So
Building control officers are not enforcement officers.
Yeah.
There would have been nothing in front of the building control officers to have alerted them that the building under construction and the photograph we've been seeing show where the envelope of the building was created, the sort of groundwork, some of the works that have been taking place within that. Those are the works which we had seen. There would have been nothing at that stage of building control to have alerted enforcement that there was anyone living there. There was no one living there. We were quite clear that there was no one living there. But the construction of the building and I won't even say the end product because maybe it hasn't even been fully finished, but the end product is what looks like a residential building, and we've not seen any evidence otherwise.
One more time, if that's all right. Sorry, Councillor.
No,
it's Councillor Fixit, then Councillor Bassett, then Councillor.
Thank you. One last bite of cherry then. But from when I read the report, it read to me as though that the council was convinced that has been built and somebody was living in it.
Yeah. To clarify that.
While the others are speaking, I'll highlight it because I've got lots of greens. I've just got to find the relevant bit I've highlighted. So. Well, sorry, Madam Chair, I'll move on. It's fine.
Okay, Councillor Fixit.
I'd just like to emphasise what I said before. This is not about enforcement. It's not about whether someone's lived in there or not lived in it. It's about whether it's been used for a reasonable period of time as an Apple store.
Yeah.
And it's not been used for a reasonable period of time as an Apple store. And therefore, all the precedents that was reviewed by the AG, it's not relevant. I mean, at the end of the day, there is no evidence being presented by the applicant. And that's what they need to do to determine whether or not it's been Apple store. There's been nothing noted by the council in terms of what sort of notice has been used as Apple store. It's not been used as Apple store on a large scale basis based upon the evidence. So at the end of the day, it really comes down to a very simple decision for council members. We either want to uphold planning law and listen to the advice that's out in terms of the guidance on de minimis and things like that, and whether it's really be used for purposes of the bill. Because we've been asked, very simply, to change it from an Apple store to a house. Well, the principle of planning law is that you can't change something that wasn't into something that is. It's not being used for that purpose, evidence, so therefore you can't turn it into a house because they need to go back and reapply, do a planning application for a house. That's the way it works.
Thank you. So Councillor Bassett,
Yeah,
Councillor
just following that up, when you look at the design of the so-called Apple store, I mean, I've never seen an Apple store that has a sort of little front door and some French windows. I mean, I don't know how you get apples in and out of that Apple store, but there we are. But, clearly, this is a house. It's not an Apple store. It was built as a house, and now they want it to be changed to a house. So it's up to us, We can look like idiots, if you like. But,
That's your opinion.
Sorry?
That's your opinion.
No, it's not. I'm just saying. No, it's not. I'm just saying it's not. Just saying, we can look like idiots and we can circumnavigate planning law and we can go against the officer's recommendation, which is quite clear and evidential to everybody, regardless of, the barrister and all the rest of it. We can see the evidence. So, again, I know it's got nothing about whose application this is. Clearly, we've all made our declaration. We all know whose application this is. We are going to look very, very silly because it's very clear cut. And it's about time this stopped.
What stopped? So I think we'll leave it there.
This my conversation stopped, is what I mean. Councillor Stamp, actually.
Thank you.
I've stopped.
Members, please.
Oh, fine.
Good.
Councillor Flinker, please. Please come
Okay.
on to the debate.
Look, I think Mr. Johnson just got absolutely sideswiped when he was told that a whole load of letters have been circulated to members, giving evidence of the fact that this had been used as an Apple store. And I think we've got to be seen to make the right decision here. Personally, I think I can see where this is going. Personally, I think that to make the right decision, we need a lot more information. We certainly need an expansion of what Mr. Wales said. I'm hugely disappointed there's nobody here from legal.
We have
not
been
to
advised we are not here to
Mr. Way,
discuss
I know,
these
but I'm just
unfortunate
giving
issues.
prejudice to the danger of making this decision without all the facts. So if this council was to go down that route, Mr. Whale would object to the reasons he's given, which means he should be given the opportunity to give those reasons to our legal people. And Chairman, I know you have a proposal on the table, but I think this is a very big decision. I mean, Councillor Bassenger has highlighted, obviously there is a member involved in this. And, you know, I do wonder whether or not this committee should refer this application, which is entitled to the District Planning Committee, which meets on the 11th of July, at which time, you know, it's not that far away, at which time, and we can have our lawyer there, and hopefully we can have something as well. This is not straightforward, and I agree with the sentiments on both sides of this, but you've got a proposal on the table. If that is withdrawn, then I'm quite happy to make my proposals for it to the district planning.
Thank you. Councillor Brown, do you want to come in before we discuss that?
No, I was only going to take point of Councillor Biddle that the evidence or the testimony from the people who are customers, etc., that it has been Apple Store, etc., over a number of...
We have letters that we have been sent.
As regards to the design of it, I think that's a bit of a red herring, and we're going to have to throw that in later.
Members, my view is that we absolutely have to get this right, and I'm concerned. Again, we're in a bit of a situation. Is it an actual store or is it not? Is it still in this painting? We have our legal advice. The applicant's legal advice. Ours says this, the applicant says that. We're a bit he said, she said, and I really think that Councillor Fluker's proposal is a sensible one. So I'm minded to ask Councillor Mayland if you would be willing to, and I'm taking it your word that is within, I'll get Councillor Fluker to refer it to the district planning. But if Councillor Mayland is willing to withdraw your proposal, that we do indeed refer this to district
Well, we
planning.
can hear all the advice.
Councillor Mayland, are you prepared to do that? Councillor Fluker, do you have a second of your proposal? Councillor Neal. Members, can we agree that by assent or...
Councillor Brown has to withdraw his as well.
Oh, yes, sorry. Thank you, Councillor Stamp. Sorry, I've been bamboozled by all the technical issues and everything tonight, and the import of this item. So are you happy to? Thank you. So members, we have what I deem to be a sensible proposal, which is that we defer this to refer to district planning. Can we agree that by assent, members?
I think, Chairman, with great respect,
should we have a recorded vote?
And we make it clear that's the 11th of July, because I've checked that's the next one, and that gives us an opportunity to have a private briefing in advance of the meeting, which we've done before, and I think that's fair to the applicant, and it's certainly fair to the members.
Yeah, I mean, in speaking to the legal officer and being concerned as to whether they maybe officer's recommendation may be overturned, the legal officer has advised that it mentioned that the application be deferred for further consideration. So that would be consistent with the views that he had presented. Well, it has to come from members. It's not really for me to then put that in, you know. So there is
I think we're all agree.
Right.
We've still got enough.
The only thing I was going to say about the 11th of July agenda, that has not been published yet. It has not been published yet.
We've got loads of time.
We actually don't have loads of time because I've got reports.
We didn't have loads of time to
but I mean, we do have a committee clerk who is listening to this and is aware of this.
Well, the papers are done.
So members, I think, thank you Mr Johnson, members, I think we have a decision there which is that we refer this application to district planning and we take the relevant advice and the relevant procedures before that meeting. Members, are we agree? And judging by the way everyone's packing away, members, you're assuming that I have no other items of business that are urgent. I'm tempted just to make some up. 2048 this evening